name is Liz Partsch,
And I'm Paul Rowley.
and welcome to Farm and Dairy's weekly rundown.
Where we will be giving you another rundown of all of the news that happened this week.
Yes.
Yes.
And in advance, I do apologize for maybe some of the more depressing news that I'm going to be bestowing upon all of you.
I'm here to try to lift your spirits.
So
Yeah.
we didn't divide it up that way. It just kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
So
So.
awesome. All right. Well,
Kick us off.
Kick us off with some depression. This week, I wrote about the pasture conditions in Ohio and Pennsylvania that are really suffering from back-to-back droughts because this is the second year in a row that we've seen a drought in late summer.
Yeah.
So according to Ed Brown, agriculture and natural resource educator at Ohio State Extension, Athens County, the grasses are suffering because of these subsequent droughts and the wet spring we actually had. Both kind of factor into the conditions we are seeing right now. Mm-hmm. So pastures were already recovering from a late August drought last year, which combined with this late, drought this year only worsened these conditions. Mm-hmm. This August, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia have seen, just historic drought conditions. Right. Actually, the driest August to date, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Wow.
Yeah. As of September 25th, nearly 90% of Ohio was in drought, and more than half of Pennsylvania was in drought at the end of September.
Oh my God.
Yeah, really bad. So. Yeah. This lack of rain has led to poor conditions and barely any grass available for the cows to munch on, leaving many farmers with nothing but to dip into their hay supplies earlier than usual. Yeah. However, an overabundance of rain in early spring, has also really factored into in early spring and spring and then early summer has also, really factored into these pasture conditions. Yeah. So the continuous rain earlier this year led to many farmers harvesting their first hay cuttings late, typically around, I think, mid-July. Mm-hmm. And then, because they harvested the drought like this so late and then the drought happened beginning of August, it didn't really leave it kind of stifled this hay regrowth. And you didn't see a lot of regrowth, especially also with pastures. So now farmers are not only facing a lack of grass, but most likely they harvested less hay than normal, and they're also most likely seeing worse nutritional value of hay because they may have gotten that hay off later than normal, that first hay cutting. Yeah. So during my conversation with Brown, he mentioned that farmers will most likely have to just adapt to these conditions as the climate changes. And in terms of this change in climate, he pointed out evidence of this from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's plant hardiness zone maps for 2012 and 2023. Mm-hmm. So in 2023, Ohio and Pennsylvania changed plant hardiness growing zones, meaning that the temperature here has gotten at least 5 degrees warmer in the last decade for that to really happen. Okay. So that really just kind of blew my mind. That's really just maybe the surest way to see that it is actually getting warmer. Yeah. So anyways, to read more about, just all this confusing weather and also some tips on how to combat these challenges, because I dive into, some tips. I talked to Pete Kunkel. He's a well-known figure in Farm and Dairy universe. Right. So we've written about him a decent amount. So if you really want to learn about how to combat these challenges as a farmer and what you can do, you can check out the story at farmanddairy.com or find your local newsstand.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Very good. Very good to check that out. I think I have a good follow-up actually for that story. So this was actually written by our contributing writer, Jake Sikowski, who we talk about very much on this pod as well. And he takes us over to Fredericktown, Ohio, which is a place where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the community comes alive at the Owl Creek Produce Auction. So very, very cool. At first glance, what you'd be looking at if you were to approach the auction, it might just look kind of like a quiet barn. There's not a whole lot going on there. But when you step closer, you'll start to see buggies rolling in. You'll see trucks unloading, just, carts and carts of produce, of these bins that are stretching across the auction floor, all this flurry of activity happening. There's going to be sweet corn stacked really high. There's melons and crates of tomatoes. There's all this awesome fresh produce that was just hauled in, just kind of like snap like that, very quickly. It's a really the impression that I got from reading Jake's story was that it's a really everything's the operation is just is really consistent and smooth, and so it's certainly
I read the beginning of it, and he did a really good job of kind of painting the scene. Right. I actually felt like I was there watching all of it happening.
Yeah, he's actually in the picture. He was husking corn with some
cool.
folks on the front page. Is kind of neat.
That's awesome.
So this market, like many others across Ohio, is a lifeline for both growers and also for buyers as well. Since 2006, Owl Creek has been the bridge between small Amish farms and then folks who just need like good food, and that can be families, grocery stores, even bulk buyers who kind of will haul a lot of that produce to like markets in more populated areas, cities, things like that. Almost all the sellers are Amish, which is a really nice, cool feature. And what's on the tables depends really on the season. So like in August, it's tomatoes, onions, and sweet corn. Come spring, there's going to be rhubarb. I'm obsessed with rhubarb.
Oh, really?
I love
I
rhubarb
never
pie.
had rhubarb.
Rhubarb pie is so good. It is literally life-changing. My grandma, I don't think I ever had her rhubarb pie because she was like way too old by the time I was like, can I have some rhubarb pie? But according to my father, she would like take rhubarb that just grew wild in their backyard and then make pie out of it. And it's like a cousin of strawberry. I don't know if that's actually accurate at all.
I think they're just like paired together. I think they're more just, I don't want to say that it's a cousin,
Right.
but I think they're just paired together.
Yeah.
That's because that's usually how like I have
They're friends.
tried rhubarb.
Yeah.
I've tried like strawberry rhubarb ice cream,
Yeah.
but I don't think I got a rhubarb piece because
Right.
I heard it's like bitter.
It is a little weirdly bitter, yes.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's something about it that I didn't think, to me, it's just so like, I have such nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
It's just, because like we would get in our, I don't want to go too off the rails here, but
Yeah.
but oh my goodness, it's just, if you get a chance to try rhubarb pie, it's so good. So anyway, obsessed with rhubarb pie, love it. So you get rhubarb at this market.
Have you made rhubarb pie? Have you made rhubarb pie before?
I haven't made it myself. I'm really kind of, I'm not too handy in the kitchen, honestly.
Now you're just intriguing me. Like I really
Yeah.
want to try it. Anyways, we probably should get back to the story.
We've established now a mission. We have to try rhubarb pie at some point
agreed,
as an
yeah.
office. So that's good. We have something to do. So anyway, you'll get berries as well in the spring at the market. And then there's going to be like honey, jam, eggs, even like fresh flowers, like really cool, that you can buy them from a market, which is really nice. Produce auctions were not always a part of like Amish life. Obviously, years ago when milk prices, Jake writes, fell, and then dairy farms started closing, families really had to figure out how they were going to like make ends meet and pivot. And then growing vegetables just kind of came a way to keep food on the table, and then money in the community as well. And they're just so beloved. It's not just really a business. It's become kind of this tradition. Families will bid on like dozens of ears of corn. Neighbors will just kind of, have little conversations and exchange pleasantries and stuff as they wait their turn to like buy stuff. And then kids just like run around. It's like a very charming, setting. And Jake really does a good job of like, bringing that to the forefront. And so, word also about these markets will really kind of travel the old fashioned way, like word of mouth, maybe a phone call. There's like written letters kind of just like, out being sent through the mail and stuff. Sometimes that info might end up in the farm and dairy as well. So the markets are thriving, with this going on. So the next time you might bite into like a juicy Ohio tomato or shuck a dozen ears of sweet corn, it might have passed through a little auction like Owl Creek. So, yeah.
Wow, sounds like a hoot.
Yeah. Aha! Yeah, that's right.
Not so bad.
I beg to
cool.
differ. That was fun.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome. Well, I wrote about this week several resolutions that the Marietta City Council passed on October 2nd related to what they call an emergency situation.
Oh, my.
Yes, and that escalating between Class 2 injection wells in the city's aquifer.
Okay. Oh.
So to dive into it,
Yeah.
one of these resolutions, they passed 3. One of these resolutions urges the Ohio House of Representatives and the Ohio Senate to introduce legislation designating a 3-year moratorium, which would prevent the Ohio Department of Natural Resources from permitting any more Class 2 injection wells, and the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency from permitting any more Class 1 injection wells in Washington County.
Okay.
So the council is seeking this moratorium after months of meetings where residents and environmental activists, in Washington County, have really just been discussing multiple situations where brine, which is fracking wastewater, from Class 2 injection wells was found to have migrated into production wells in Athens and Washington County.
Okay.
So community leaders and residents alike are concerned that this city the Marietta City's, aquifer could be next, which is surrounded by 4 injection wells at the moment.
Okay.
And So they're concerned this could be next, which would be irreversible. Like if it's contaminated, just like ruined. And people are really concerned about that.
Yeah.
So the resolution cited multiple incidences, The resolution cited multiple instances of brine migration found in these production wells, as well as an uptick in seismic activity in Washington County. ODNR has previously linked several earthquakes to injection well operations. So according to ODNR's Ohio Earthquake Database, since 2010, 130 earthquakes have occurred in Washington County.
Oh, wow.
With 57 earthquakes happening this year alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
It just really, this has a lot of residents really concerned. This is just the latest attempt by the council to kind of, really just get some action on this. To read more about kind of this escalating, what the council calls an emergency, you can check out the paper this week or go online.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. That sounds pretty urgent. Read that one.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I'm going to share on the pod next, I think it's very like spooky coded. So I just wanted to preface with that. So we're really gearing up, getting ready for Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
So fun. So as we work our way up to the holiday, Liz, what are some of your favorite scary movies?
Oh my God, Paul.
It's like if you name like a couple.
I love horror movies. I would say The Omen, I just think is
it's
a classic.
So good.
It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think older movies are really fun.
Yeah.
I really like Sinister. I just
that was a good
thought
one.
It was a good thriller.
Yeah.
What other ones?
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, with Ethan Hawke. Night of the Living Dead. I used to be terrified of that one, but it is a classic. And also, it was set in Pittsburgh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The north side of Pittsburgh.
Oh, no kidding.
Actually, little side note here. Is that my mom was obsessed with that movie.
Yeah.
And she took me to the cemetery. It's in, I think, the north side of the city.
Wow.
And we actually recreated the opening scene.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah, they're coming to get you, Barbara. And then that zombie comes and like kills the guy.
Oh my God.
However, there were only two of us. So it was a bit difficult to act like I was fighting nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a video of that somewhere that no one will ever see ever. But
cool.
Yeah, I would say those are a few. However, I am a horror movie fanatic.
Yeah.
I do love a lot of horror movies.
Excellent. Cool. Okay. Well, to introduce this next piece, that's actually in our rural section, it comes courtesy of our just fabulous writer Jim Abrams, who we love so much. I'm thinking, because I also a bit of an aficionado of horror movies.
Yeah. Are you going to give us a favorite?
I have many. I do have some examples though. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I've never seen that.
It's so good. There's a scene I'm not even, but when you go like that scene, I'll just leave you with that.
Okay.
Very, very amazing finale in that movie. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Also really fun.
I think I started watching that and then
it's really wacky, but it's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stories like imagine like a hostile enemy colliding with the real world and then turning it upside down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there are some real monsters out there, okay? And of course, they're in Florida.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Which, of course, if you remember, I'm dating myself, but in 2012, Florida was actually the setting for the viral bath salt motivated face eating viral story. If you remember anything of that,
what?
Yeah, that's a maybe we'll put a pin in that. But yeah, that was a whole thing that came out of Florida of just a very chaotic scene with this man that was he had ingested bath salts and proceeded to attack someone. So Florida.
Oh, wait, I think I do remember hearing that. Yeah,
like something of that. No, so Florida is also just it's been a kind of a strange and frightening place for a little while. But anyway, it's also home to a monster that slithers. Actually, so that's where we meet Jim Abrams in our rural section this week. And this horror story begins very well intentioned with an exotic pet that someone kept as a companion, which is cute at first, impressive even. Mm-hmm. My goodness. I had friends who actually owned a snake, and they swore that it was very mild-mannered and even affectionate. And I never wanted to get to know that snake. I was like, I don't think I want a relationship with your snake. And then it bit them, like, because of at mealtime or something.
Yeah.
So,
I guess all animals end up, accidentally biting you.
My cat would never. Yeah. He does all the time.
Yeah.
So you can probably guess where this story goes. This pet gets too big, too strong, too much to handle. So what happens? On some occasions, they might be released, left to fend for themselves out in the wild, where their owner thinks that they'll probably thrive. And that is where the real horror begins. We are talking about Burmese pythons. And they have been set loose in Florida's Everglades, that very, very large natural area of wetlands and thick jungle-like,
Yeah.
foliage and all of this. The Burmese python, after it made its home in the Everglades, did not just survive, it thrived. These snakes can hit 20 feet long and weigh over 200 pounds, which is insane to me. They just wrap, squeeze, and swallow animals whole.
Oh, good Lord.
I
Wow.
know. It's literally just the scariest thing. And they're actually not even that rare. We're talking like tens of thousands of them slithering through the Everglades right now. And they've been around long enough that their offspring are actually like they've never been exposed to humans before. So they're just natural born hunters, The impact has been capital D devastating on the ecology of this part of the world. In parts of the Everglades, once noisy with like the sound of wildlife, it's been replaced kind of with silence. Raccoon numbers are down like drastically, like almost completely wiped out.
Wow.
Marsh rabbits, even deer are on the menu for these
Good
pythons.
Lord.
Yeah.
Probably humans, too.
Well, I was going to get to that.
Oh,
So I'm glad you
okay.
brought that up.
Good Lord.
Yes. So there is a little bit of a silver lining here, at least for human people. So human deaths from pythons are extremely, extremely rare. I don't think according to Jim, there's never been a recorded case in Florida. Still, that does not stop people from getting the heebie-jeebies, knowing that there could be a giant, massive, like deer-eating python in the swampy dark somewhere in the Everglades. Florida, though, is fighting back. Every summer, the state hosts what's called the Python Challenge, which is basically a 10-day snake hunting competition. So it's open season on these terrible giant beasts. Last year, hunters pulled nearly 200 pythons out of the Everglades, which is pretty cool. And there are even programs that hire people to track them year-round so that we can get maybe a better control on the population of these snakes. So imagine putting that, on your resume, which is like Python hunter. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That
would be kind of cool. Yeah.
Right. And also, some restaurants in the area, like in the Naples area, apparently have even decided that, if you can't beat them, we'll eat them. So,
wow. Okay.
yeah. So Burmese python pizza, python nuggets, even python curry, like all of these things are something you could get to eat if you were inclined.
I just don't know if I'd feel safe to eat a python.
I don't know. I'd be curious to try it.
Yeah.
So, obviously like the center, like the main like Halloween images are always like jack-o'-lanterns, black cats, maybe add pythons to that list of spooky creatures.
They're supposed to represent the devil. So.
There you go.
Like
right.
Snakes in general.
Right.
But,
so
yeah.
Anyway.
Wow. That
beware.
sounds like a cool story.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Always enlightening us.
Yeah.
His stories.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in other news, Donald Trump said on October 19th that America could buy Argentinian beef to lower costs for Americans.
Did he?
Yes. The U.S. beef prices have been pretty high as of recently due to drought conditions and reduced imports from Mexico due to the New World screwworm, which you have covered extensively.
Indeed.
Trump has been working to bolster Argentina's collapsing currency, which he recently did by providing them with $20 billion. But the president's latest suggestions about beef have been really met with a lot of criticism from industry groups, including the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, who say this would really just hurt American cattle producers. Other industry groups have been critical of continuing to support Argentina after the U.S. provided billions of dollars to the country days before Argentina sold 20 shiploads of soybeans to China, which is one of the U.S. soybean farmers' biggest markets.
Yeah.
And a lot of soybean farmers are kind of left wondering what they're going to do with their harvest.
Yeah.
So one of the industry groups said, this is just, the frustration is overwhelming. Said the American Soybean Association president Caleb Ragland in a September 24th statement.
Okay.
He said U.S. soybean prices are falling, harvest is underway, and farmers read headlines not about securing a trade deal with China, but that the U.S. government is extending $20 billion in economic support to Argentina while the country drops its soybean export taxes to sell 20 shiploads of Argentinian soybeans to China in just 2 days.
Wow.
So as you can see, there's a lot of tension ongoing with that situation. And I guess we'll kind of see how that develops.
Yeah, we'll check it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I actually got to go on a really fun a little excursion, which often this job allows, which is a perk definitely of the job. So I got to go to Zor Village in Ohio. And I got to learn a whole lot of things. So I'm going to actually open this the same way that I opened the article that I wrote about this trip. Do you know those moments where you just know you're supposed to be somewhere? Like it's almost like a premonition, or you're just like, I know I came, this is like almost deja vu at this point.
Yeah.
This kind of happened to this woman who lives in Zora Village. Her name is Libby, when she felt this strange pull to stop at a yard sale. And she prefaced by saying, like, I don't buy things from yard sales. I certainly don't need anything. My house is full, but I was just called to this yard sale. So she wandered in and she started chatting with the homeowner who was running the yard sale, just making small talk. And then Libby mentioned where she lived, which was the old White House in the middle of Zora Village, the one she inherited from her late mother. And this woman running the yard sale froze and was like, wait a minute, I have something to show you. It is in my basement. And Libby was like, well, she looked harmless enough. That's
a creepy thing to say to someone.
Right. So she was like, okay. So she went into this woman's basement. And when she got about halfway down the steps, she stopped and was taken aback because there, hanging on the basement wall, or was just even just laying on the floor, just put on the floor, was a portrait of Libby's mother, the owner of the home originally.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Right.
Maybe start off by saying that instead of saying, I have to show you something in the basement.
Yeah, that was the invitation.
Yeah.
Just, I got to show you this thing, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. It was painted by the woman's husband years earlier from a candid photo he'd taken of Libby's mother. Her name is Bess. And there she is in her in the portrait, her arms crossed, staring kind of off out of frame, like she always did, kind of on the porch. Watching the street, greeting neighbors and passerby, just trying to make conversation because she was a social person before she passed away. Libby brought the painting home. She bought it. She was like, it's my mother. I don't know. But it was so big that there was really not a place to put it on the wall. It's a huge portrait. And then years later, after it had been tucked away in the attic, because it was not something she could throw away. It's her mother, her portrait, but she was like, I don't know what to do with it. So she's put it in the attic. Years later, her grandson is helping her pull Christmas decorations downstairs, and he came across the portrait. He saw it, and he just stared at it. And finally, he said, that's the lady that I used to see standing at the end of my bed. What?
Whoa. Yeah.
Just every sound effect.
Every sound possible for that.
Even though they didn't make sense. So whether or not you believe in ghosts, that story gave Libby chills, and she swears by it to this day. We talked a little bit about it. And that's just one of the stories that you hear on Zora Village's lantern-lit ghost tour. So I was lucky enough to attend. They have haunted hotel. They have an eerie bakery. They have a century-old storehouse, all with their own secrets and stories and experiences that people have talked about. For some, obviously, this tour is just a really fun way to celebrate the spooky season. For others, like paranormal investigator Chris Mathias, who I was lucky enough to talk to, who was actually there that night. He was doing a demonstration of some of the technologies that he uses to go paranormal, to search for the paranormal. And then also he had some evidence to share as well, which was really cool. For people like him, it's a search for something deeper. It's not just because he wants to get a ghost on camera or something. After losing his mom and his grandmother, he actually turned to ghost hunting as a way to help contact them again, and talk to me a little bit about that. It was really moving. And at Zor, he says that he had found some of his strongest evidence of life after death and that kind of stuff. So it was really cool. Every fall, hundreds of people go to Zor, not just for the scares, but obviously to connect with the really deep history there. It's a really interesting place on the National Register of Historic Places, I believe. There's mystery and maybe even, an EVP of a ghost calling from the beyond. So it's very interesting. So it was a great time, and please check it out on the auction page this week.
I'll say, it sounds like you could get yourself some Halloween fun at Zor.
Absolutely, yes.
Go check it out.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Neat.
Cool. Well, that is our top stories for the week.
It is time already. Well, to read the full stories, head on over to farmanddairy.com or find your local newsstand.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in and see you next week.